Perhaps the most famous battle in Operation Market Garden took place on the 18th of September 1944 when the German 9th Panzer Reconnaissance Battalion attacked the British paratroopers. On the second day of Operation Market Garden, the British soldiers who defended the north end of the road bridge could hear the sounds of tanks. Very few reinforcements had reached them overnight, and they had only around 750 men at the bridge. Eagerly they awaited the first sight of Sherman tanks when the first vehicle finally came across the bridge. But it wasn't a Sherman tank, but a German armored car. Only a few minutes before the 2nd Battalion arrived at the bridge, the last vehicle of the 9th SS Panzeraufklärerabteilung, so Panzer Reconnaissance Battalion, left it, and nobody guarded the bridge. Earlier that day, the same vehicles had been loaded on trains to be transported to Germany with the rest of the 9th SS Panzer Division Hohenstaufen. There they would get some much-needed rest before taking in replacements, both men and vehicles. A significant portion of the division had already left, but the Germans had moved the administrative troops first and kept their soldiers near Arnhem as long as possible. Among those still near Arnhem was the Panzer Recon Battalion, commanded by Captain Viktor Grebner. Grebner was born in 1914 and entered military service in 1937. In January of 1943, he transferred to the newly formed Waffen-SS unit, the 9th SS Panzer Division. In August of 1944, he was given command of the division's reconnaissance battalion. Unloading of the German vehicles already on the flat cars at the railhead began immediately. Trains that had already moved out were recalled or stopped and unloaded on the spot. Vehicles they kept in broken down condition in workshops in order not to lose them to the 10th SS were put back together in a hurry. Within 3 hours of landing, the Germans were able to send the Recon Battalion with approximately 40 vehicles on a scouting mission. They were to drive to the bridge at Arnhem and report back on any enemy troops they encountered. When Grebner arrived at the bridge in Arnhem, he reported back to his HQ by radio, "No enemy in sight." The British jeeps that should have secured the bridge hours earlier had run into an ambush, and John Frost and his men had not yet arrived. Then Grebner made a mistake. With all his men and vehicles, he crossed the bridge to the south and left it virtually unguarded. It was getting close to 7 p.m. when the first British paratroopers entered streets at the north end of the bridge. They immediately took possession of the houses all around their objective. The first task was to prepare them for defense. On the morning of September the 18th, Grebner moved his vehicles and around 500 men further south to the bridge at Arnhem. There he organized them into attack formation with at least 5 Sonderkraftfahrzeug 234 Puma armored cars up front, followed by open-topped half-tracks, and finally his unarmored soft-skin vehicles, all filled with Panzer Grenadiers. At 9 o'clock he launched his attack. It is now assumed that he wanted to join the rest of his division on the north bank of the Rhine River, and crossing the bridge was the quickest way to do so. Some historians suggest that he ordered the attack himself. Others claim that he had received orders to do so. Anyway, he must have known of the British presence on the north ramp, and it seems he underestimated their number and firepower. Gravener was also known to make quick decisions, and having a powerful column of armored vehicles may have convinced him of guaranteed success. One by one, the German vehicles started moving up the ramp over the center of the bridge and then down through the British perimeter. The British were ready, and the open-topped half-tracks came under heavy fire. Hand grenades were thrown into the troop compartments, causing instant carnage. Then the mortars opened up, followed by anti-tank grenades. One by one the half-tracks were destroyed, the crews trying to find cover on a bridge that offered none. More and more vehicles tried to push their way through the burning wreckage, but in the British fire they did not stand a chance. Two half-tracks crashed through the bridge barrier and tumbled several feet down to the street below. SS soldiers were seen diving into the water of the River Rhine to escape the deadly fire. All the while, the paratroopers kept up a steady stream of fire until suddenly there were no more targets to fire on. The bridge ramp now was a smoking heap of burning vehicles, bodies and equipment, blocking all traffic. As for the fate of Viktor Graebner, there is only uncertainty. He was leading from the front of the column during the attack, but he went missing during the battle. The Germans were not able to retrieve his body after the British were defeated a couple of days later. He remains missing to this day. For the British paratroopers, this battle was a massive morale boost. They had stopped a massive German attack, destroying at least 15 vehicles, and soon the 2nd Battalion battle cry was heard all over around the perimeter. However, during the 2.5-hour battle, they had expended vast quantities of ammunition that they were unable to replenish. Soon after the fighting on the bridge ramp ended, the Germans launched new attacks from the north and east, trying to dislodge the paratroopers, who denied them the use of this vital crossing. Then they changed tactics and stopped launching infantry attacks. One by one they started to demolish the houses the British were defending. Window by window, room by room, they fired high explosives and incendiary shells until there were no more buildings to occupy. The paratroopers were able to deny the use of the bridge to the Germans for another 36 hours before they were pushed away from the ramp. The last pockets of resistance held out even longer until they were all taken prisoner in the morning of the 21st of September. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to my channel.